guys, Keith Engel for TGI Sports Talk right here on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. How are you guys today? Kind of a gloomy Sunday. Happy Halloween. I got to tell you guys, Halloween is my least favorite holiday. I just don't get it. Maybe it's my old age, but even when I was a kid, I don't think I liked Halloween that much. I like the candy, but I don't know about the rest. How are you guys doing today? How are you going to be doing today? We got a lot to talk about. We got the World Series game 4 last night. Braves have taken a commanding 3-1 lead. We'll talk about how they've gotten there and what to look for sure. Good morning, Rick Sherlock. Good to see you this morning, bright and early. You beat Dave Guyette today. Dave Guyette's cousin, Ian Anderson, pitched a great game in Game 3. We'll talk a little bit about that whole circumstance, by the way. A lot to talk about in college football. The Big Ten picture is starting to come into more of a more focus as Jim Harbaugh again can't win a big game, which I think I predicted yesterday. I will give you my picks yesterday. I did lose one. I forgot to post them. We'll talk about the NFL, so everything going on from last week, this week's picks. We'll update our pool picks. And what else we got? We'll talk a little bit of NBA. We'll start to work our way into the NBA and kind of go from there. Listen, I want to thank, I didn't have a guest Friday. I did my own little NBA thing. I will have Hank Gola coming up this Friday, live at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Hank Gola from the Daily News, prolific author, been a sports writer in the New York area for decades. Continues to write an article for the news, and also is a prolific some great books. The City Champions, by the way, I've pushed before. Please, if you have not read it, read that book. Great book. And I believe he's got a sequel coming out. I think. I don't want to speak out of turn, but he might. Hang on, guys. This hat's driving me nuts today. It feels crooked on my head, and it's just driving me nuts. So anyway, the hat goes today. Last night, by the way, great time. I am getting old. That's back from vacation last Sunday. Did the show, out all day for football, passed out at 7 o'clock at night. Work all week in a fog. Like I hadn't been there in 2 weeks. I hadn't been there in 2 weeks. Last night, yesterday, we're out for dinner. Went out to see the Brothers Osborne at the Palace. What a great show, by the way. Don't know what music you guys are into, but Brothers Osborne, what a terrific group. Country rock, really. A lot of fun last night. So anyway, on to important matters. The world of sports. Let's talk about Major League Baseball first. We're in the middle of the World Series. And guys, I've been into this World Series more than I thought I would. I've got kind of I had a rooting interest. I might have a Georgia hat that will fit my Oh, God. I'm not seeing too good this morning either. I don't know. These progressives, man. Some days I can see, sometimes I can't. I'm terrible about ripping my glasses off, and then they get all out of whack, and I got to go like every 3 weeks to get them adjusted. Anyway, the World Series. I have been into this World Series more than I have been in the past. I don't know why, especially without the Yankees in there. I'm into it. I don't usually get into it as much. I've watched every inning. Last day I didn't know I was at a concert, but I watched the end of it. And it's been a fun series to watch for me from a baseball standpoint. I don't mind well-pitched, low-scoring, well-played games. But there's still this factor of I'll put this up. You guys got to save this for the college segment, which will come up right after the World Series segment. You're tough, Carlos, man. We'll see. I don't want to get off topic, but we'll talk about that in a second. I don't know that they're going to gag. We're going to talk about it, though, coming up here in a second. I just want to talk about the World Series for a few minutes. The whole thing again, both these teams shift like crazy. Guys don't take advantage of getting away from it. The Astros had done it in the regular season, and so did the Braves. I think better than a lot of teams. But there's a lot of things going on in this series that I think is part of the problem with baseball, and it hasn't it hasn't affected the game. I mean, they go into this with a script. You can see the Braves, and yes, Rick, I will tell you. Thank you for pointing that out. I was definitely on the Braves, but I think Drew was on the Braves, especially to win the East. I picked them to get to the World Series. I don't know if Drew did or not. Drew can speak for himself. I don't have my notes in front of me on that, but. I did pick them to get to the World Series with the Astros. I'm kind of rooting for the Astros only because I want Dusty Baker to get to to win a World Series, because Dusty Baker's got a Hall of Fame resume, and he may not get there without a World Series victory, and it's going to get very tough now because they're down 3-1. Point I was making about the pitching, the scriptedness of these games, and Snitker has gotten away with it with the Braves. And again, whether it's him or the front office or whoever's scripting these things out, they've gotten away from it. But we don't. It's a perfect example of how we don't manage games based on what's happening in front of you and what you're watching. Friday night, Ian Anderson pitching a no-hitter through 5 innings, only throws 75 pitches. Congratulations. You see him get to the dugout. Great job. You're out. Now, the Braves bullpen has been lights out in the postseason, and I get it. But you never know what that guy's going to have when he comes in. And it happens all the time, and you see it, that they have got a where's my crap. I wanted to see the box score from last night. Let me see if I can pull this up here. I mean, they've got themselves. They know what they're going to do. I'm sorry. They've got Mittner in a spot. They've got, gosh, I can't even come up with the guy's names now. I'm so bad. Oh, my God. Hang on. I need some help. Got to get the box scores out. But you guys know what I'm talking about, right? I've enjoyed the baseball, but I haven't enjoyed the scriptedness of, okay, that guy's got his 5 innings in. Let's get our 6th inning guy in. Let's get our 7th inning guy in. Let's get our, it's frustrating from a fan standpoint. It's been successful. I can't. And last night, by the way, was a total bullpen game. They started Lee last night. He didn't get out of the first inning. But all relief pitchers, Wright did go 4.2 innings, 4 and 2/3. Excuse me. Where did I learn my baseball terminology? I'm a baseball guy. But then they get Martin and Matzik and Jackson and Smith in the game last night. The night before, let's go. This, the night before, to be honest with you, is the perfect example of what I'm talking about and the Brave strategy, and it's paid off. But to me, there's an easy way for this to blow up, because there's no reason to take Ian Anderson out of that game. Now, it worked. So yes, in hindsight, well, I guess I'm not in hindsight saying that they did something wrong, because I would have been saying this if it blew up in their face, by the way. So look at Ian Anderson throws 76 pitches. He did walk 3 guys, struck out 4, but he had given up no hits. They go to Minter for 1, Jackson for 1, Matzik for 1, Smith for 1. Guarantee you that was their game plan going in. And you know what? It's working, but gosh, it's not the baseball I grew up with, and maybe I am just too Bob Costas oriented, right? And I think that the game should be played the way it's always been played. It worked, but I'm telling you, they sent out Minter mid-season because he wasn't pitching well. He's pitched great since he came back. But when you got a pitcher, and I don't care if it's your starting pitcher or the relief pitcher that you brought in who goes through the batting order in 9 pitches and 3 strikeouts or 3 pitches and 3 groundouts. He's out. He's out. You don't know what that next guy is going to do. It's worked out for the Braves, and the Astros have got to do something to get some offense going. I mean, they were averaging, I think, 6, almost 7 runs in the playoffs coming into the World Series. They scored 7 runs in game 2, and they've averaged 2 runs a game the other 3 games. And that's why they've lost. Last night, they got a great pitching performance from their team. And again, let me just get to this. This might drive me a little nuts, too. Let me go back to the box score from last night. So they started Zach Greinke. Zach Greinke gave up no runs, struck out 3, walked nobody, 58 pitches out of the game. 4th inning. 4th inning. Up 2-0. This is a better example, right? They bring in Stanek, who pitched well. They bring in Raley, didn't give up any run. I'm sorry, he gives up a run, so it's 2-1. Greinke could have done that. He could have got through 6 innings. That would have only been 5 1/3. Then they bring in Matt Matan. He pitched well. But Javier comes in. You know, again, no rhyme or reason. Well, there is rhyme or reason in their heads and their analytical minds. Zach Greinke probably should not have left that game. Now, I'm not saying Zach Greinke's going to pitch a complete game no-hitter or complete game shutout. But they let the Braves back into that game with their bullpen. I mean, I can make a case for leaving Matan in the game. Only pitched to 2 batters. Well, he did throw 17 pitches, but still. You go to Javier just because that's your pregame game plan. Very disturbing way to play baseball, but I've enjoyed the games. The games have been fun. 3-2 game last night. Braves, I can't take anything away from Braves, man. They are getting some great pitching, some very timely hitting, and what else can you say? Snedeker's pushing all the right buttons, and the Astros just aren't hitting, and you gotta chalk that up to the Atlanta pitching. I mean, they're hitting 206 for the series. 291 on base percentage, 298 slugging percentage. These are all stats that mean something too, guys. I'm not just throwing out your, the crazy analyticals. But that's been the tail of the tape. I mean, the Braves are hitting just that a little bit better. 250, 320, 432. Big home runs in big spots. Good morning, Jeff. Good to see you on a Sunday morning. I know I see you on our Wednesday college football huddle. We'll be talking about that in a little bit. So anyway, I'm pretty much done with the World Series talk for now. I don't think you guys are all that into it, and I have covered what I wanted to cover. So I'm still excited. I still think the Braves can get back in this series tonight. They'll I believe the Braves are going with another bullpen. Let's see. I'm pretty sure the Braves are taking another bullpen game tonight. Let's see what's going on here. Sunday. Who's our starters? Yeah, Atlanta's undecided. So you're looking at a bullpen game 2 days in a row. 2 games in a row. We got openers in the playoffs. There's Bill Pulver. He might want to weigh in. Go Braves. Tell me why you're rooting for the Braves, Billy. Really curious why your rooting interest is there. I'm not rooting for anybody. I'm rooting for the Astros because of Dusty Baker. I'll be upfront about that. I wanted to see a good series. I think I'm seeing a good series, even though it's a 3-1 Braves lead. I wouldn't be surprised the Astros can get back into this. Valdez pitches for them tonight. Hasn't pitched well his last start out, and again, the Braves will be going with an opener, and we don't know who that is yet. Your daughter doesn't live there. Okay. You've got families lived everywhere. I think this is Billy. You've got hang on one second, guys. I get too much light here. Too much light on my face. I'm white enough as it is. Oh, that's better. Billy, you've got teams all over the country because your kids have lived everywhere, it seems. and they're an East Coast team. All right, I'll give you that. Jeff's talking about Dusty Baker, good man, also also served in the Marines. Excellent. You know what? Dusty Baker's a baseball lifer. I want to talk about Dusty Baker for a second before I move on off of baseball. Dusty Baker was a really good player. Not good enough to be in the Hall of Fame. I understand that. But he took over teams, all of them, in a down cycle. The Giants, the Cubs, the Reds, the Nationals maybe weren't in a down cycle, but the Astros certainly needed his leadership capabilities. And he's made all those teams either better and got them all to the playoffs. Got 2 teams to the World Series. Hasn't won that World Series. One of the best managers, I think, in baseball history and American League. Wait a minute, Billy. They're playing the National League. I need more information then, I guess. Atlanta's a great city. I could get into some topics there, but I won't. The Jets. Well, there's actually an excellent idea. The Jets should hire Dusty Baker. We'll get into the Jets later, but that's a good point, Billy. I think maybe that's what they should do. You know, the other thing I love about Dusty Baker, Dusty Baker's in his 70s. Not sure how old he is, 73. He goes out there like he's going to play. He's got his wristbands on. He's got his batting gloves on. Totally looks like he wants to get out there and play and mix it up. Excites me. All right, I will give Jeff this. When you go back to the 1970s Braves, Ralph Garth, Dusty Baker, Hank Aaron, you know, those Braves teams had some good hitters. Didn't have enough pitchers. But I believe in 1973, and Jeff, if you're a Braves fan and old enough, well, I guess you are old enough. You're talking about Ralph Garth. 1973, I think they became the first team ever to have 3 guys with 40 home runs. Darrell Evans, Davey Johnson in a season that was, I'm assuming before steroids. Davey Johnson had never hit 41 homers combined in 2 seasons, and he hit 40 home runs that year. And Hank Aaron, of course. So great job. Great stadium. There's great stadiums all over baseball. I miss the old stadiums. You know, I know you're going to be shocked to hear this, right? But I go to the new Yankee Stadium, and it's beautiful, and the sight lines are great. But I miss the old dump. I really do. Oh, Jeff's a suffering Phillies fan. I'm sorry to hear that. I will tell you that, you know, there's some issues in Philadelphia. Since we're talking about it, did I have anything about Major League Baseball I want to talk about besides the World Series? I guess not. The owners met this week. Not a lot came of that. I understand, Jeff, and maybe you can help me out. I think there's some issues with Joe Girardi and the management of the Phillies, and I'm not surprised. I've said this a lot. Joe Girardi managed the Yankees for a long time. I think Joe Girardi manages tight, and his teams get tight in big situations because of the way he carries himself. So I'm not sure. I think they need a managerial change, so we'll see. Old Yankee Stadium better. I agree, Billy. You know, I got to tell you something. I'm going to do a show, by the way, on a Friday. There's a gentleman, and I don't remember his name right now, so I apologize. I know that he guested on the Mac and Jack show one day. I want to do a full hour segment. He wrote a book just about all the old stadiums, and I want to do an interview with him. In fact, I'm making a note for myself right now because I had lost track of him. He's on my list, and I want to get him in. Because I think it'd be a lot of fun to talk about. Something about coming out of that dark, dingy catacombs at Yankee Stadium, the old Yankee Stadium, and then coming out to this beautiful ball field. Now, I mean, yeah, you can walk around. I can eat a hot dog. I can go to the bathroom, and I can watch the game as I'm doing everything, which is great. But I'm just, All right, I'm going to move on to college football. Jeff, if you want to continue the conversation, you can back it up and talk about Joe Girardi. I'm not a fan of Joe Girardi, never was a fan of Joe Girardi. I'm starting to sound like Carlos now with my managers, and as I've ripped Boone, I've ripped Girardi. But look, I don't think without reason. Not that you don't have reasons, Carlos. I'm not trying to attack you, I promise. Let's get into college football unless we got what do we got here? We can't get off baseball yet. Mac and Jack debated that. Which I want to, you know what? I'm going to say, I didn't see this debate. Was this yesterday? One of them had to say he deserved to be in, and I'm going to say Jack said he deserved to be in. Tell me if I'm right or not, Carlos, because Dusty Baker deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. So get back to me. Give me a comment back. I'd like to know who was on which side of that debate so I can kind of bust their chops later on. Jeff is disappointed in Girardi. Seems like the brass tempered him. Well, your teams do have issues for sure. And I think you're validating my Girardi thing. He's wound tighter than a freaking top, man. And his teams play that way. And you're right. The Eagles are in trouble. 76ers have issues. We'll talk a little basketball in a little bit. So stick around. We'll talk about basketball probably a little bit once we get college football and the NFL conversation out. Aside from Frank Robinson, not many black managers. True enough. I mean, I don't think it's the same case, in the 90s and on as it was. We've had quite a few. Cito Gaston. Well, Cito was a Latino, but Ron Washington had some great success. Don Baylor. It is funny. There's been a trend towards Latino managers, maybe even more than black managers recently. So, but that may also stem from the fact that the participation in the black demographic is really shrunk in Major League Baseball in the last 30 years. They aren't participating. They're playing basketball. They're playing football. They're playing other sports, and they're not playing basketball. Jack was for Dusty. I'm not surprised about that. We're going to get to that right now, Jeff, as far as the college football. So let's move on from the baseball debate. We can continue the debate about black managers and maybe that's a show in itself, guys. I'll tell you, that community, that demographic has really strayed away from baseball, maybe more than any other, and the Latino demographic has really bumped up because look at those kids grow up playing in the Dominican and in Puerto Rico, I'm trying to think of somebody, Venezuela, all of these South American or Southern Hemisphere Caribbean countries. They're playing baseball from the time they're a little kid, like I did. Except I had, spikes in a real glove, and a lot of them don't. But they're getting their shot, and that's where the scouts are going to look for players. Well, as far as opportunities you're talking about for managers, I agree. I'm not necessarily, maybe I did give the impression I was saying they were related, but again, Carlos, if there's less people participating in the sport and involved in the sport, whatever level we're talking about, there's going to be less opportunity to offer people positions. I don't disagree, though, with the premise that, over the history of the sport, there hasn't been enough opportunities, not just on the field for blacks to manage, but also in upper management. Yes, it's changed over the last 20 years, but still, probably if we look at the overall picture, the percentages are probably pretty low. But it's a good point. I did recently have Derek May on, and Derek May is a guy who was a coach and didn't get a chance to manage. I think he wanted to. He's managing now in independent league, independent minor league team in Florida. And I think after I had him on, they actually won some games. So I might be his good luck charm. But, there does need to be more opportunity for sure. Yeah. Derek May's a guy who's been around the game for a long, long time. He grew up in the game. His dad was a player, a good player. Dave May. His brother played a bit. Derek played a long time in the major leagues, successfully. He wasn't a Hall of Fame caliber player, but he was a successful player. Hall of Fame caliber players rarely become great managers anyway. So it's a great point, Carlos, and it's probably a topic that we can tackle in more in depth. And I can spend a whole show on this, and we'll get a guest on that maybe that can speak to it. Maybe Kevin Kernan will be a good guy to have this discussion with. One Friday we'll do it. Yeah, I know he was born in Texas. I was just talking about his heritage was Latino. And I don't believe I'm wrong about that. If I am, let me check it out, because I don't like to be wrong. I'll correct myself if I am. But I thought Cito was not technically a black manager. We'll find out. Let's see what he's got here. Well, I take it back. He was an African American. I'm wrong. It's funny because I could have swore that I had checked this out one time before. Well, he played a lot in Venezuela in the winter leagues. All right, Carlos, you caught me. I'm reading his Wikipedia stuff here now. His name was taken from a Mexican-American wrestler he watched as a young man in Texas. That's interesting. Well, that's interesting. Very interesting. So anyway, I'm caught. So there's another guy who falls into the demographic that you're talking about, Carlos. Good call. Good catch. Listen, I'm 61 years old. I'm tired from being out watching a loud concert last night. Had a couple beers, too many probably. I'll probably have a few more today. Patriots play late. So thanks for catching me there, Carlos. I do like to be, you know what? I like to be right. So I don't like to leave misinformation out there. If I'm wrong, I will always admit it. So anyway, good topic there, Carlos. Thanks for bringing that up. We'll talk more about that too. I think maybe, when the seasons, when actual gameplay is at a lull, we can dive more into that. Let's dive into the NCAA. Some big games yesterday. Probably the biggest games were in the Big Ten. And I also need the standings out here too, because we're going to talk a little bit. I'm going to talk about the games yesterday, and we're going to dive more into this on the College Football Huddle. So I'm not going to spend all day on it. But we got some time. Yep. Hold on, we got a comment here. Carlos, you bet on Georgia will lose from game one. I would offer you a wager, but I'm not sure you. Oh no, I let Carlos off on his wager. Carlos was more than willing to pay, just to be clear, Rick. And you get your cheesecakes. I'm going to make sure Mark Mancini delivers on those cheesecakes. I sent him a message last night. Oh, you were on that trail, I think. There's got to be a place. I can get a pizza delivered from Italy. I can get you a cheesecake from Philly for sure. So anyway, just to make sure, I want to make sure. So you make a wager with Carlos. Carlos will pay off. I would put money on that myself, because Carlos was ready to pay off, and I let him off the hook because I thought it was an easy. I felt like I was taking advantage of it. It was easy. The signs were all there. If you read the right stuff and you pay attention to the right places, and have your ear to the ground in the Boston area, it was clear what was going to happen there with with Cam Newton and Mac Jones. We got another wager too, Carlos and I. Who knows? Maybe I'll let him off the hook again. I know, because I'm going to win that one as well. I don't remember what it was. I think it's 9 wins. Help me out, Carlos, because I don't remember. Jeff is 61 years old. Worked to Stones concert in Tampa Friday night. Really? God bless you. You're like a child to those guys, though. I mean, you know what? This is why it's a stream of consciousness show, right? Jeff, you're participating and getting me off topic just like you're supposed to. So you're 61 years old, and they're all 80. Well, maybe not quite. But is Keith Richards actually alive, or is this like a Weekend at Bernie's thing? I need to know. Or is he just so have the drugs preserved him? He's going to live forever, and when the nuclear war comes, it'll be the cockroaches and Keith Richards. What's the deal? I mean, I think it's a Weekend at Bernie's thing. I don't think Keith Richards is really with us anymore. I think they're propping him up. I'm sorry, guys. Oh my God. Anyway, scoreboard. Back to topic. We'll start with number 1. Georgia routs Florida. I was wrong. First time, I think, on my college football huddle. And Rick, I know you pay attention to these things. I have been, my don't be surprised ifs often are not predicting victories. Sometimes they are. But I'll take a big spread in a spot that I think a team will have a chance to win a game in the fourth quarter, and that'll be my prediction. And that was my prediction for the Florida-Georgia game, that Florida would have the ball in the fourth quarter with a chance to win the game. Oh, man, was I wrong. 34-7. Georgia continues to show. Now, Florida's on a down cycle this year. They knew they were rebuilding, but I really thought they'd come up big. And I know this wasn't a home game, Rick. I do realize that. But it wasn't a home game for Georgia either. And I know this place is probably half and half. I got to get up here. When those guys were all going, yeah, we will be sad. I will. I'm sad already. If you know how to tell old, Keith calls them spikes at cleats. Oh, my God. Did I say spikes? I wore metal spikes, Rick, playing baseball, not cleats. God, I am old. Kenny Gifford, good morning, Kenny. Cleats are for football, spikes are for baseball. Yeah, but I think, to be honest with you, Kenny, I think Rick may technically be correct now. I think they're cleats overall, because you can't, I don't believe anybody, I could be wrong, but I know below the major league level, nobody's wearing metal spikes anymore. And again, another way the game has changed. Look at me. I'm off topic, way off topic. So Georgia rolls. We'll look at the conferences in a second. Let's go through the top 25. Cincinnati, oh my gosh. Again, Cincinnati needs style points, and we're going to get into a little conversation. I know Carlos had a topic he wanted to bring up about Cincinnati and the AAC. I've been big on this league for a long time. Carlos, I think, is not. Cincinnati could play with the big boys, but Cincinnati needs some style points. They win this game 31-12 at the end, but they were leading this team by, geez, it was only 21-12, I think, heading into the fourth quarter. At halftime, it was only 14-12. Cincinnati's got a roll. They need style points. These other teams that are going to be fighting for the playoff, and we're going to be talking about that. The first rankings will be coming out for the playoff on Tuesday night. We'll be all over that on Wednesday's college football huddle. What's Kenny got here? Kenny says he's, again, well, I've been wrong already once today, Kenny, so I could be wrong about that, and we'll look into that for sure. Good morning to the pulverizer and Frank. Carlos doesn't have a cool nickname. Now Jeff needs a cool nickname. Billy, get on this, will you? All right. Anyway, Cincinnati needs some style points. We're going to talk a little bit. I'm going to give you my top 10, what I think the top 10 will be or should be when this playoff polls are announced. Oklahoma finally wins big over a bad opponent, 52-21 over Texas Tech. Texas Tech's having a bad year. Oklahoma's had a habit of keeping these teams in games like they did last week against a horrible Kansas team. They had a chance to win the game in the fourth quarter. Nice win for them. Ohio State, in a tougher game than we thought. I thought Penn State would keep this within 18.5. I was on the Mac and Jack show. We couldn't come up with the line. I couldn't find it quick enough, and I thought, it's double digits. It was 18.5. So Penn State does a good job fighting. They're undermanned. I said they couldn't score enough points to stay with Ohio State with Clifford hurt. And Penn State's certainly out of the running for a playoff. But they did, Jeff, as you said, played a gutsy game yesterday, I thought. Nice win for Notre Dame. We'll jump to that one. I'll get to that one in a second. I'm trying to go down the thing here. Frank, the commish. Big Frank, the commish is not always right. I've already been wrong once. I don't know. Well, Kenny, they're not. Well, they're good. C.J. Stroud is really good quarterback. Their defense is suspect. It's played better, and they've only lost one game to Oregon. And guess what? If both those teams finish with one loss, Ohio State's going to go to the playoff, not Oregon, even though they beat them. And I know that you'll probably say that's wrong, but the Pac-12 stinks. That's the problem. That's why they need to expand a playoff. All right, moving on here. I want to get to Kenny's team here, too. Michigan State. Jim Harbaugh, again, cannot win the big game. I bet Michigan State yesterday. Just a total disclosure, my bets yesterday were Michigan State getting points at home. Ole Miss, damn, I missed that one. I really wanted to go to Auburn. I bet Ole Miss. Let myself get talked out of it. Frank Corral got hurt at halftime over for Ole Miss. And I bet Notre Dame last night. So 2 out of 3 yesterday. Michigan State down this entire game. Outscores Michigan 15-3 in the fourth quarter to come back and win this game. 37-33. Michigan played well. Michigan State played well. I think these teams are very evenly matched. It's still hard for me to tell how good they are because they're playing each other. And I'm getting to that game too. In fact, we'll get there. Oregon rolls over Colorado 52-29. Oregon still with one loss. A loss to a very mediocre Stanford team. I know Oregon beat Ohio State, but Oregon has beaten up the Pac-12 or the Pac-12 teams. BYU, who's fallen out of the rankings, would be undefeated in the Pac-12 because they haven't lost. They've got 4 or 5 wins against Pac-12 teams. Iowa's free fall. I was big on Iowa early in the year. I thought this was a team that Kirk Ferentz had finally put it together. That really great defense that he has, and found a bit of a vertical passing game to kind of complement the running game. They've fallen apart here. They get dismantled for the second week in a row. No, trying to remember where I was. I've lost my last few Saturdays. Anyway, they lost to Purdue badly a few weeks ago at home. They go to Camp Randall and get beat 27-7. I don't think the game was even that close. Iowa's done. That we're going to look at the standings here in a second, and that's going to really hurt. Really hurt Iowa. They're done. Auburn, as I said a minute ago, Auburn is playing really good football right now. They're going to have Alabama coming up very soon, and they could really throw the playoff rankings into total chaos if Alabama were to lose to Auburn, and it could happen. I believe they're playing at home this year. Notre Dame, as we talked about, beat a very disappointing, probably one of the most disappointing teams in NCAA football this year in North Carolina. Bad job out of Mac Jones, and the defense is horrendous. I mean, Notre Dame's offense is not that prolific. They score 44 points, but a good win. Notre Dame hangs in there at 7-1. Crazy stuff can still happen, and Notre Dame could get in a playoff conversation. I don't think they can, but we'll see. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a second. Notre Dame's positioning in this first poll is going to be very, very interesting. Kenny, I agree. Iowa played like Iowa. Well, Iowa's, they're a good football team. They got a good football coach, but they need to move into their offense is just not creative enough. Sorry. Mississippi State, the gummy bear hater, Mike Leach gets a nice win over Kentucky. Kentucky's doing their usual late season swoon. They play well. Mike Stoops is a really good coach. And Kentucky's a good team, but they're not going to compete week in and week out in this tough SEC. They've had a few years now where they've gotten off to strong starts and then kind of fallen backwards. So not a good loss for them. If they go into the top 8, watch out. I agree. This is all, it's going to be very interesting. There's going to be a lot of things to me that are very interesting. It's going to be interesting where they put Cincinnati in this first poll. My prediction was, and it might still be, that they leave them at 5. We'll see. I got to take a quick look at some of the other rankings and get my head around this. If at all possible, I think they'll leave Cincinnati on the outside with the ability to move them up later, rather than put them in and have to drop them if they don't lose a game to let one of these other one-loss teams in, because they don't want to deal with that nonsense. Yeah, Navy's had a tough year this year. We'll look at them in a second. Well, I like to talk about the military academy, so we'll talk about them quickly. Wake Forest, I thought this might have been a trap game for them. We talked about it Wednesday night. Good job blowing out a mediocre at best Duke team, 45-7. Wake Forest, again, I will say, especially with Pitt's loss yesterday. And Pitt's loss yesterday to Miami really kind of hurts Wake, because I think a one-loss Pittsburgh team and undefeated Wake Forest team in the ACC playoff would have really enhanced Wake Forest's chances, if they were to win that game, of getting into the playoff. Keep in mind, no undefeated Power 5 conference team has ever been left out of the playoff. So they still got some games to play against Clemson, NC State, before we even talk about the playoff. Oklahoma State rebounds, blows out Kansas 55-3. I'm still not convinced Oklahoma State will not win the Big Ten. They're going to beat Oklahoma, I think, head-to-head in the regular season, and might get them again in the playoff. Who knows? Baylor stays alive in the Big 12 with a good win, a comeback win over Texas. Texas cannot hold on to leads. This is now 3 weeks in a row, I believe, that they've blown leads, some of them big leads, in games that they should not have lost. I already talked about Miami beating Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was on a great roll. Kenny Pickett did have a great game, thrown for 519 yards and 3 touchdowns, but Pittsburgh's defense was not good enough. Pickett's going to be in that Heisman conversation, especially with Frank Corral now falling backwards. And also, while I'm talking about the Heisman real quick, the other night I talked about Thibodeau from Oregon, who I think should be in the conversation. I overlooked the guy from Georgia. What's his name? Rick, help me out. Joseph, the defensive lineman. He's probably the best defensive player in the country. One of those two guys could go number 1 in the draft next year. Both of them should go in the top 5. Army plays Air Force. Yeah, Army does play Air Force this coming weekend. Should be a really good game. We'll certainly be talking about that going forward. Texas is disappointing. You know what? Carlos, I agree. Steve Sarkisian he's a good football coach, but he came in there like he was going to turn them into, a national championship contender right away. This team is the same team that Tom Herman had. It's not the same team he had, but they're playing the same way. They're losing games they should win. They blow big leads. Well, I'll tell you, it's possible that Walker yesterday, I should have mentioned that when I was talking about the game, 5 touchdowns yesterday. And I don't remember how many yards rushing he had. Walker, 197 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns. He's got himself in the conversation. A running back, we talked about this on the show the other night, the College Football Huddle. Right now it's a quarterback award again, except for last year with Devontae Smith. But we go through cycles. The way the game is played today, the quarterbacks have an advantage. They're going to run up big numbers. But Walker may very well have given himself a leg up yesterday. Good point. And a good catch there, Rick, for sure. We'll probably talk more about the Heisman race on Wednesday night. Houston, and what some will consider an upset, I don't. SMU is a really, really good team, but Houston's a really good team. Playing at home, they were the favorite in this game, and they win 44-37. Cincinnati's still got to play both these teams. I know Carlos, again, has his doubts whether the AAC is a good league. And we'll get into that here in a second. Let's see. Yeah, our Army was on a bye this week. So we can't talk about Army or Air Force, I don't think, this week. And Navy, I believe, lost to Tulsa, or I think to Tulsa, but only by 7. West Virginia beats Iowa State. Iowa State I had high hopes for, and this team is just kind of imploding. BYU in a defensive struggle out there in Provo, a defensive struggle. Let me get you off of here, Rick. Sorry. I haven't even changed my banner what we're talking about here. Let me go back to the college football thing here. Oh, I get this stuff all set up and then I don't even put it up. Anyway, an defensive struggle. This is the kind of games that drive me nuts, man, in college football. 66-49. Regulation, guys. Similar to the Wake Forest Army game last week. 66-49. 115 points scored in 4 quarters. I mean, what'd the punters do yesterday? They just go home, take a nap on the bench? What'd they do? Yikes, man. What else you guys got here? Carlos, Jets will pick punter from pick. That's a good one. That league is subpar. Carlos is right. Listen, subpar. They're better than the Pac-12. Better than the Pac-12. I'll make that assumption right. Can they play with the? They're probably as good as the ACC this year. Let's just look at this year. Power 5 conferences compared to the AAC. We'll talk about this right now. Oh, Santana, that's right. I forgot he's got one. Shots fired, Billy. Oh, they won the game. Did the midshipmen win? Let me just check that score real quick for since it's in the league, I got to pull up right now. Anyway. Oh, gosh. You're right. 20-17. My bad, Jeff. Good call. 1 year wonder. Who's a 1 year wonder? We talk about this year? Kenny? I mean, seriously, they're not a 1 year wonder. I gotta pull up. I lost my my conference standings here. Let's just we'll talk about this year first. And it's not a 1 year wonder because the UCF has had teams that were in the conversation for the playoff before Cincinnati ever came into the conversation. UCF was Cincinnati. Houston's had really good teams. Memphis has had really good teams. I can make an argument this league right now, and by the way, Cincinnati beat your Notre Dame team this year, who, again, well-coached team. I like Notre Dame. Going to South Bend, even beating a down I say down Notre Dame team. They're one loss. They're going to be in a playoff conversation. They're going to be. You've talked about it yourself, Kenny. They beat him at home. AC compete. Well, there's my point, too. I'll get to this. This is exactly where I was going to go. It wasn't all the old Big East, by the way. That's a misconception as well, Carlos. You say it was the old Big East. Here's the teams that are in there. The old Big East is mostly in the ACC. Just an FYI. The only team in that, I don't know if there's anybody. Temple might have played in the Big East for a year. I don't know. Other than that, there's nobody from the Big East in that league. Syracuse is in the ACC. BC's in the ACC. Miami's in the ACC. Florida State's in the ACC. Rutgers is in a Big Ten. Connecticut did play in this league. I don't know if they played in this league or not. I think they did. They played basketball in this league. Some of these schools were playing one league in basketball, another in football. UConn might have been playing an independent schedule, and UConn stinks. And they're not in the conversation in this. What's a fluke? You guys got to give me more than one word. Remember, I'm talking about a lot of stuff and going on a lot of things, so I don't know. Any titles? Well, they don't get a chance to get in a playoff, Kenny. How can they have any titles when the thing is rigged for the power conferences to be in the four? They won't play Cincinnati. When was the last time before this year? This is the first year Notre Dame gave Cincinnati a shot to play. A Big Ten team gave Cincinnati a chance to play. Who's playing Houston? Who's playing SMU from these Power 5 conferences and out-of-conference games? Who's playing UCF? Nobody. This has been a really good league. And to go back to my original premise, to talk about this year, and this isn't a new thing. You say this is a one-year wonder. Cincinnati's been good for 3 years now. Didn't get a chance to play anybody in the regular season to get a chance to get in the playoff until this year. Houston's had a good team in different years. UCF had a good team for 3, 4, 5 years in a row. Scott Frost had them undefeated, did everything he could to get in the playoff, and then they left them out for teams that didn't win their conferences. This is why the playoff needs to be expanded, by the way. So you'll find out how good these conferences are. Now, again, I'm making this, having this conversation, as I told Carlos last night. This league's about to get much weaker in 2 years or whenever it happens, because Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF is leaving the conference to go to the Big 12 for more money. If you're saying to me, well, that points out how bad the conference is, you're wrong. It's about money. It's all about money and opportunity, because nobody will play them when they play in the AAC. I've been promoting, this isn't a one-year thing. If you guys, well, I haven't had the show on for 3 years. I wish I had. But I've been promoting this league all through last year, all through this year. And I was a proponent of this league 3, 4, 5 years ago. They should be considered, alongside the power conferences, because it's better than the Pac-12, as Jeff said. Jeff just said a little while ago. They're better in the ACC this year. They're maybe as good as the Big 12. They're better than a lot of those teams. The top 3 teams in that division can play with anybody except maybe the top teams in the SEC. Anybody. Let me get to some of your comments. Carlos, you're the guy who wanted to talk about this. So even if they can compete with Power 5 conferences, doesn't mean they can win a championship. We have no way to know. You're probably right. Now. But these teams don't have a chance to get better because they're left out, because kids want to go to places they can play for the national championship, which leads them where? Leads them to the SEC, and it leads them to the ACC and the Big Ten. And also Pac-12 gets the leftovers because they stink out there. That league stinks. I'll say it Play clear as the day. That's Power 5 conference in the AAC, isn't? In name only. Second tier teams. Let's see. Houston will be ranked this week, by the way. Cincinnati's number 2, and I'm looking at let me just go to the real rankings that I like. I don't like the ESPN rankings. Let's just go here quick. Let's see who's ranked. Cincinnati's 2, and Iowa's 19. Houston will be moving up in this conference, by the way. And in other years, they've had teams ranked. So are they second tier compared to who? Who's the top tier, Kenny? Alabama and Georgia? I can say it's Alabama, Georgia, and then everybody else. This is second tier. I don't know if I agree with that. It's a great topic. Thanks for bringing it up, Carlos. UCF was ranked as high as number 2 or 3 a few years ago and beat Florida State and got left out of the playoff. That's before Florida State was actually a stinker the way they are now, like the rest of the ACC. And I'm going to promote Wake Forest, by the way, for the playoff if they win that conference. But this league is better, way better than the ACC right now. ACC was not a one-team league. ACC had Clemson. They had Miami, who would lose late in the year, but they were a good team. Let me look at the ACC real quick. They're not a one-team league anymore. Louisville's had good years in that league. North Carolina's had really good years in that league. Miami's had really good years in that league. Georgia Tech has had good years in that league. Not now. All right, and by the way, that also, by the way, Kenny, thank you, backs up my argument. Let's just say you're right. And they did have Notre Dame last year, by the way, and they should have held Notre Dame. They had the power. They should have said no to Notre Dame. You join us for good or don't join us at all. But if your premise about Clemson being right, that means the AAC is a better league than the ACC because it's not one team. It's Cincinnati. It's Houston. It's SMU. It's UCF. There was on a little downturn this year. Memphis has been very consistent. Not as good this year. That league is deep. Deep. We got here, Carlos. You put Cincinnati versus Kentucky, they might. I don't think so. I think they beat Kentucky. You put them in the SEC. Are they going to win the conference? No. Are they going to be Vanderbilt? No. They're going to have lead teams. They're going to have years where they play really well. They're going to be like, whatever. I'll give you Mississippi State when they have really big years. Ole Miss when they get a good class. But no, they're not going to compete for the title. But will they beat Kentucky? At least half the time. Again, what have they done? They don't get a chance. You guys, again, think about, Carlos talked about opportunity when we're talking about black managers. How about opportunities for these schools, these second-tier schools? That's why there needs to be a 12-team playoff or a 16-team playoff. Should be 16. Now they're talking about 8. Schools don't want to go to 8 because Notre Dame doesn't want 8 because they got less chances to get in. Notre Dame wants to stay the way it is or go to 12. You can't say they can't win when they don't get a chance to participate. And the leagues would get better as they're able to recruit better when these teams have a chance to play, the elite teams, and play for national championships. Again, Kenny, the league, you can call the league second tier, and the NCAA does too. It's a group of 5. We got a top Power 5 and a group of 5. And the group of 5 gets stronger because they keep siphoning off the really good teams, right? The AAC is going to get weaker and weaker now because the good teams in that league are going to Big 12 next year. Not next year, 2 years probably. Anyway, who's this? My cousin and her husband have been at Wake all weekend to celebrate the 1970 ACC championship game. He played safety. Well, good for him. And good for them this year. Definitely going to try to have Larry Sorensen on as we update the last couple games for Wake Forest and the ACC in general. We'll get into this conversation with him a little bit. Carlos, this is my point. They want to get crowned champions, and they can go to a championship game with 1 loss, where UCF can't go with 0 losses because they pad their schedule with Swanee or Elkhorn State. When they should be playing the Cincinnati's, they should be playing the SMU's, they should be playing the Memphis's, they should be playing the UCF's, but they don't. And these Swanees and Elkhorn States are happy to take their $1 million and get their asses kicked. Yes, that is awesome, by the way. I agree, Kenny. And I'm happy for him as an alum to see Wake Forest having that great year. It's a down year in the ACC, but Wake Forest is a great story. And then this conversation, right? This debate about the AAC. I love this debate. When Carlos brought it up to me last night, I was more than happy to have it because I've been touting this league for 2 years. They don't get a chance. But this is why college football, I love the NFL. But except for my team, I don't get as excited about the NFL as I do about Saturday college football. College football is awesome because you don't get these kind of debates in the NFL. There's a lot of good teams that don't get a chance to get recognized. And I say, in all honesty, I do believe the committee will look for any way to keep Cincinnati out of this playoff. I guarantee you they're rooting for them to lose to to lose to SMU or Houston and keep them out. And that'll probably happen. Well, money makes the world go around, Kenny. That's just a fact. I don't get wrapped up in it too much because I can separate the two, whether it's money or politics. It's all about money. These super conferences are all about money. Look at Cincinnati and Houston and UCF are leaving the AAC because of money. But where the AAC could potentially garner that kind of money if they were able to play better teams. Navy beat a good K-State team with a couple of years ago in the Liberty Bowl. Navy's had really good teams. Great point, Jeff. Navy's another team. I didn't even mention them in this conversation. They've been down the last couple of years, but Navy's had really good teams. Who's gone in and beat Notre Dame? Maybe not often. But they have beat Notre Dame. They've given other teams fits the way Army does now. It's a good call. College football America, yeah. I agree, and it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse, Carlos. I don't care about the conferences. Here's the thing. You know what? Make it again. I'm going to say this one last time. As far as a playoff, it won't be the last time. Who am I kidding? 16 teams. 10 conference winners. 6 at-larges. Let's find out who the best team in the country is. Yes, you'll find out most of the time Cincinnati and UCF and Coastal Carolina will get killed in the first round. How's that any different than we watching Notre Dame get beat up in the semifinal every single time they get in the playoff? I'd rather watch Coastal Carolina. Can they beat? They better. They should. Problem is they've been playing down to their competition lately. And they need style points, man. Everybody going to be 90. I must have missed something from Billy. I'm heading to New York City to celebrate the Jutes. Oh my gosh. Well, enjoy that, Billy, because it is a big moment. By the way, I kid about the Jets, but this is the biggest moment in NFL history. I think the game was played in 69, but it was the 68 season. I hope I got all these comments. I don't know. Where are you? Notre Dame is so overrated. Yeah, I don't disagree. Notre Dame always will be because, again, as Kenny mentioned, it's about money. Notre Dame means money. And Notre Dame is still allowed not to join a conference and have their own TV contract and collect all the money when they go to a big bowl game. They don't have to split it with anybody. Why would they want to go to a conference? And that's why they don't want the 18 playoff. Less opportunity for them. Because I think in the 18 scenario, there'd only be 2 wild cards, 2 at-larges. Maybe 3. Right now there's 4 because all 4 are at-large, right? And Notre Dame's got 4 chances. In the 18, they're going to have 2 or 3, and that's it. In the 12 team, they'd have 6. So they want, you know what they want. They don't want to join a league and split the money. This might be the last team to beat Notre Dame 3 out of 4 years in late 2000s. You know, they had some really good teams. They had, you know what? Even they lost some games that were really close to. Navy is an underrated for what they can have to do to recruit. I'm sorry about your best friend there, Rick. I'm really so sorry that he had to. And you, I apologize for you having to sit through so many of those games. God needs the money. Touchdown Jesus needs the money. Good conversation, guys. I like that. Get my juices flowing here. 10:07. We're going to have Mark Mancini on here at 10:25. She'll be calling in again today, so you won't get to see his pretty face. Rick, I was looking for a different picture, but I can't find one that I can put up. You're going to get the Here's Johnny thing. And we're going to get your cheesesteaks. He's going to find a place, or I'm going to find a place myself, and I'm going to order them, and I'm going to get you your cheesesteaks. Anyway, here's my prediction for the first college football playoff poll, which will come Tuesday night. We'll be diving into it on Wednesday night's college football huddle. So anyway, here's what I predict. Georgia number 1. Oklahoma number 2. Ohio State 3. Alabama 4. Cincinnati 5. They're going to keep them on the outside. Michigan State 6. Notre Dame 7. Texas A&M 8. Wake Forest 9. 10th team is going to be Baylor. There's my picks. Let's see how I do. The big thing here is Kenny hit on it. 2 big things here. Where's Notre Dame's rated? Because if they're in the top 8, or top 10 even, they got a chance to move up into that 4. And where's Cincinnati's rated? I really think they'll leave Cincinnati at 5 because, again, they don't want the optics of because they've done it before. They did it to TCU one year, undefeated in the 4, the entire 4 or 5 weeks they were ranking. The final rankings come out. They didn't play a game, I think, that week, and they fell out. They've done it before, and it's not a good look. Yeah, you're saying God needs the money too, Jeff. If the playoff goes to 12 teams, Notre Dame may be the first team to lose 3 games and still get in. It's entirely possible, but I don't think that will be the case. Again, 6 at-large teams. It depends on what criteria they put on those at-large teams. So right, Jeff, you're right. Ton of mid-majors on the bottom of the list. Which I'm not sure which list we were referring to there. Anyway, that's my take there. We got to do our NFL stuff before Jeff comes in. We got to, or Jeff. Jeff's already in. If both Cincinnati and Notre Dame have one loss, Notre Dame goes. I agree. Listen, Cincinnati can't lose a game and get in. It won't happen. Cincinnati's got to be undefeated, or they're not getting in. They just aren't. Unless there's some crazy crap that happens. You know, Notre Dame will get in over most one-loss teams. They won't get in over Ohio State with one loss. They won't get in over Alabama or Georgia with one loss. But they might get in over Michigan State with one loss. They'll get in over Michigan with one loss. And they'll get in over Cincinnati if this all plays out. Oh, I see. Top 25, yeah. I like to see the mid-majors getting some rankings. It's exactly what I'm talking about. You know, some of these teams can play. Wouldn't you like to see Texas and San Antonio get a chance to play for a national championship? They can't win, probably, but neither can half the teams that get in the NCAA basketball tournament. And look at how much fun those first two rounds are. They're a lot of fun. All right, let's jump into football. Let's look at our picks first, just so we get them in. We can talk about the standings when Mark gets in. Here's our picks. Here's how we did in week number 7. Keith Engel's at the top with 9 wins. Look at that. Keith Engel and TGI Sports Talk. Mickey Delaney followed me with 8. Mark Robertshaw had 8. Carlos at 8, moving up the ladder. Things are getting tight at the top. We'll look at it in a second. Kenny Gifford with 7 wins. My boy Mark dropped down with just 7 wins. He's fallen down the leaderboard. Ryan Lehrman with 7. Robert with 6. Mike Caesar with 6. Drew with only 5. And Rick Sherlock, 4. Did you pick all the games, Rick? Here's our overall standings, guys, for the $100 gift card that I'll be giving myself when I win this. Mark Matheson still leads. I said he was falling down, but he's tied with Ryan Lehrman. Ryan, I hope you're listening. Make sure you're following the show. I got to get to my list of followers. I hope you're there because I want you to have a chance to win this card. Mark Robertshaw, 1 behind. TGI Sports Talk is 3 behind with 55 wins. It's pretty close from here. Carlos tied with 55 wins. Kenny with 53. Drew with 50. Mike Sasser with 49. Robert with 49. Rick with 42. And I know Rick's unfortunately had two different entries here for a while. And Mickey, as well as he did this week, hasn't been picking every week and is probably not going to have a shot unless he comes on extremely well here at the end to move up. So anyway, a couple more college things here. Louisiana teams better watch out. No teams from Texas should ever get in. All right, guys. Let's look at the NFL. Let's just look at his standings. We'll get into some other stuff here in a second. Let's take a quick look at the standings and see where we sit as we start to head into week. Oh, I do my picks. I'll do this first, and I'll do my picks. I'll give you my picks. I'll even give you my bet. I think I can give you my bets. I'm not sure. It's a tough week, man. Tough week. I don't know if I can pick 3 winners. In the AFC East, the Bills. Well, look at that. The Bills with only a game and a half lead over the Patriots. Watch out. I'm telling you, the Patriots will beat the Chargers today to get over the top. Finally beat a good team. Destroyed the Jets last week, 54-13. I know it's a bad team, guys, but 54-13 is 54-13. Just is. The surprising Bengals going to be a big favorite on the road against the Jets. I do not like that game at all, even though the Jets don't have a quarterback. Bad plan by the Jets, by the way. Go into a season with a rookie quarterback and don't have anybody to back them up except Pat White. Who? Kenny's going to hack the picks. Kenny's got too much time on his hands. Anyway, that North, Cincinnati's tied with Baltimore. Cincinnati's good, guys, really good. Joe Burrow is going to be a tremendous, tremendous quarterback for a long time to come if he stays healthy. The surprisingly mediocre Browns are 4-3, and the Steelers stink, by the way, 3-3. Tennessee playing good football. They're a dog today against the Colts. I'm considering taking them, but they do have a 2-game lead in the division over the Colts. Jacksonville's just terrible. Houston is just a joke, and Deshaun Watson is not getting moved. And Deshaun Watson, I will say again, will never play in the NFL ever again. Out in the AFC West, the Raiders, they fire Gruden, don't miss a beat. Maybe they're better off without him. They've won 2 in a row. They lead the division over the Chargers by half a game. They have 5 wins. The Chargers have 4 wins. The very disappointing Kansas City Chiefs, who I will be taking in at least one survivor pool today against the Giants on Monday night. The Broncos are tied with them for last place. But again, that's not a lot of ground to make up, guys. In the NFC, the surprising Cowboys get Rick's Vikings today. We'll take a look at that game in a second. Washington, Eagles, Giants, all with 2 victories. That's kind of what we expected. I didn't expect the Cowboys necessarily to run away with this division, which right now they're looking to do. The surprising Packers. I thought the Aaron Rodgers issues would carry over and cost them some wins, because I thought it would really hurt them in the locker room. They're playing great football, a great win Thursday night to start off this week against the Arizona Cardinals. Bad play by A.J. Green to end that game. Bad route, bad effort. I don't know what we want to call it, but it ends up in interception when the Cardinals had a chance to win that game, and there are now no undefeated teams. And the Miami Dolphins, again, are sipping champagne, the 72 Miami Dolphins. Let's see. The Vikings have got 2 wins in a row to get themselves to 3-3, but at this point already they're looking at a wild card potential. And the surprising Bears are 3-4. I'm surprised. They've lost 2 in a row. I'm a little surprised they've got any wins. The Lions, if they're going to win a game, this might be the week for them to do it. Tampa Bay rolls along at 6-1. Big game against the Saints at 4-2 today at New Orleans. Could be an interesting game. Hard to go against Tom Brady and the Bucs here when you're talking about Jameis Winston on the other side of the line of scrimmage. Not on the other side of Tom Brady, but the other side of any quarterback matchup. The Falcons playing some better football than I thought they would. Won their last 2. They're actually favored today. Carolina's fallen off after a 3-0 start. They lost their 4th in a row. McCaffrey being out hurt them, and they benched Sam Darnold last week. We'll see what happens there. And as we talked about earlier, the Cardinals will still lead the West, the very tough West, at 7-1 with their first loss on Thursday night. The Rams 6-1. And the surprisingly bad, I thought this would be the best division in football, and it's really falling off the map a little bit for the Cardinals, for the 49ers and the Seahawks. For kind of the same reasons. Quarterback. Russell Wilson's out another 5 weeks probably. Geno Smith. Listen, I would love to take Seattle at home against Jacksonville in the survivor pool, and I'm afraid because Geno Smith is the quarterback. How do you do that? Where's my phone? Before Mark calls in. So anyway, here's my picks. Let's get to my picks for this week. I got to get back to here. Hold on. There we go. All right. Let's get to Keith's picks. Are you ready? I did win Thursday night. I had Green Bay plus 5.5 over the Cardinals. I thought the Cardinals would win. So in the pool I'm in, the 2 pools I'm in with no points, I lost. I did pick the Cardinals to win the game. I thought the Packers would cover. The Falcons minus 2.5 over the imploding Panthers. I'm going to take the Falcons here. I don't know how not to at home. The Bills, big line here, 13.5 over the Dolphins. The Dolphins are 1-6, only win over my Patriots in week 1, a game they probably shouldn't have won there. This team should be should have no wins. As the Patriots fumbled the ball on the 10 to end the game. So I got to go with the Bills here. Looking to rebound from the first loss of the year, second loss of the year, to the Titans. I believe they had a bye last week. But not a good performance against the Titans. So that defense starts to make me wonder whether the Bills are as good as we think. The 49ers, the very disappointing 49ers, going to Chicago and are a 3.5-point favorite. I don't understand. I don't understand how this game can be 3.5 points. I will take the home dog here, 3.5 points. Justin Fields starting to get his legs under him. He's played much better since his original start or action, and I would expect that to continue today. The Browns -3.5 over the Steelers. The Steelers, guys, look at Big Ben is a statue out there. A lot of rumors about Mike Tomlin leaving the Steelers. I don't see it happening. He vehemently denied it. But listen, the last time a guy vehemently, excuse me, I want to talk to Mark about that too if we get a chance when he comes on. He vehemently denies he's considering some of these big college openings at LSU and USC, where his name's been thrown around quite a bit. Last time I got a coach that I can remember in the pros was denying rumors about going to a college was Nick Saban. I don't know how many years ago. 15 years ago. The Lions, the winless Lions, getting 3.5 at home against the really not good Philadelphia Eagles. As much as I don't think the Lions may win a game this year, I do think they might be able to cover the spread. This is probably Mark Mancini, so hold on. Hey, Mark.
Hey, brother, how are you?
How are you today? Hang on one second.
Wow, I took a bath in college football.
Well, we're going to talk about that in a second. I got to pick. Let me finish up before I get to you. I got to finish up a couple quick picks on my my NFL picks, so these guys all know who I picked, and we don't have anybody calling me a cheater. So let me run through these here real quick, and then we'll pick up our conversation. So bear with me a second.
Okay.
So guys, where was I? I've got the Titans -1.5. You know, I don't like road favorites necessarily, but in this case, I'm going to take the Titans. They're playing very well. I'm going to take the Bengals, even though that's a big spread. Jets just don't have any quarterback to play today. Pat White, again, as I said before, and we'll talk maybe a little with Mark about this. I don't know if we have time. The Jets with a horrible game plan of going into a season with a rookie quarterback and nobody behind him. Pat White, come on. Joe Douglas, you got to answer to that. The Rams, 14.5-point favorite against the hapless Texans. I'm going to take the Rams here, but I think the Texans could be a live dog as far as at least covering this. Miles has played decent quarterback at times. Upset alert, guys. We'll probably get this one when we talk with Mark later in our upsets and or our don't be surprised diffs. Again, I'm a homer. We know that. New England Patriots will beat the Chargers today. They will run the football. They'll have play action pass opportunities, and the tight ends will get much more involved as they did last week, and the Patriots will beat the Chargers in a neutral field game on the Chargers home field. We got a couple more here. Seahawks, what a tough game. I got to take the Seahawks, so I ought to be taking, as I said, my survivor pool. I should be taking the Seahawks, but Geno Smith is playing, and I can't take them in that survivor pool against the horrible Jaguars, but I will take them -3.5 here. The Broncos at home. Look they're not playing great football. The Redskins, there's $1 in the jar. The Washington football team is not playing well, and they will lose on the road in Denver. Tough place to play. Buccaneers, I can't. Tom Brady against Jameis Winston. They don't play against each other. I understand. It's a no-brainer. You got to pick the the Bucks here. And to finish it up with Sunday and Monday Night Football, Rick, I'm all over your Minnesota Vikings. Getting 2.5 at home. This is a great spot to be getting 2.5 points against the Dallas Cowboys, who I know are playing some good football, but Dak Prescott is questionable to play this game, and I like these points at home. And unfortunately, I will have to take the horrendously playing, if that's not even the right phrase, Kansas City Chiefs to beat the Giants Monday night. So there you got my picks, guys. Maybe I'll send you the 3 I bet on later because this is a tough card to bet on. Anyway, there's our picks. Let me see what kind of comments I got to respond to here, Mark. Probably got all kinds of people yelling at me. All I got is, here's Johnny. That must be you. They love your picture. Let me add you to the frame here. They love this picture I have of you at the mic. I don't know. Rick Schrock thinks you look like Jack Nicholson in The Shining here. I'm not sure if that's a compliment.
I don't know what I don't know what the people in LA think of me, but there's not enough dirt to go around to bury these son of a guns.
Well, listen, welcome, Mark Mancini. By the way, congratulations. Before we get started on your debut show in Philadelphia on Thursday it was, right, at 6:00.
Yeah, it's adopted city of Philadelphia. We're trying to, bring Pittsburgh and Philly together. And, I'll tell you one thing, and not to be biased or anything, if you could survive in Philadelphia, talking sports and everything, I think you could survive anywhere.
Well, that's a good point, and you had some good guests on. You gotta get more involved. You guys need more than an hour though, because you guys had a lot to cover, and it seemed like that 50 or 55 minutes that you had for the show just went by so fast.
Yeah, we gotta get in Marianne. I'll tell you, what a moderator. She breaks it down, soothing voice. She reminds me of Ellen Kay that used to work out here with Rick Dees, and just unbelievable. And then Sal there, he comes with his stick, and he's got a friend. I think when I first met Sal, I thought he was part of Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. He's got a friend all over the place. And then my attitude is, either Philly's going to like me or hate me, and that brash, opinionated, controversial style. So I bring it into the city of brotherly love, and indulging in the Phillies and the Eagles and the Sixers and the Flyers. So it's amazing, and I'm so blessed to be a part of that city and station, WWDB.
Well, you go from LA with a lot of dysfunction to another city with a lot of dysfunction in their sports teams in Philadelphia. So that's a good transition for you.
Yeah, LA's a bridesmaid city. I don't know what it is, but the groom keeps leaving the bride at the altar. So I don't know what that. I have no idea what's going on in this city, and the only respect given is to the Lakers. So the other ones seem to be, regular season champs, I guess. I don't know.
I got you. Listen, let's jump into some stuff here because there's a couple things I want to cover. Let's talk first about the World Series. I mean, I've been very involved in these games. Last night I wasn't because I was out at a concert and I only caught the last 2 innings. But they've been well played games, I think, for the most part. Good pitching, good defense, and the kind of games I like to watch be played. Atlanta's played a bit better, obviously taking a 3-1 lead as Houston's not hitting at all. But the thing that gets me, and it hasn't blown up in anybody's face yet, that's particularly maybe a little bit in Dusty Baker's face last night, but it's this continued scripting of the game. I mean, Friday night's game is a perfect example, and it did blow up. It didn't blow up in Snitker's, I can never say his name, Snitker's face, but it could have. To pull Ian Anderson out of that game with a no-hitter after throwing 75 pitches in 5 innings is again, you don't tell me there's not a script for that game, that they knew they were going to do that before it ever started. There's no feel for the game. You don't make decisions based on what's happening and you're watching in front of you. And this is exactly what's been going on.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. A buddy of mine wrote a book on the sports in Atlanta. It's called Loserville. Clayton Trutor wrote that book, and I've been reading it. And let me tell you, when you look at Atlanta sports, the Braves won 14 division titles, hell of a pitching staff, but only one World Series. The Falcons have fallen on their face, blowing the 28-3 lead to your New England Patriots, and they haven't been back. The Hawks have come close, and they've fallen short. And we've seen two hockey teams move out of that city in the Flames and the Thrashers. So it's been tough for the city of Atlanta. But I will tell you this. In order to win a World Series, you might want to follow the script of the Washington Nationals and now the Atlanta Braves. You get hot at the end, and you start rolling teams in the playoffs. Nobody thought they'd roll the Milwaukee Brewers. Of course, the Brewers came in with little injuries. They took the Dodgers out. The Dodgers are a great regular season team. They're just not built for the playoffs and World Series. I mean, when you look at the Dodgers, let's lay the facts down to the city of Los Angeles. 9 straight playoff appearances, 8 division titles, 6 National League championships, 3 World Series, 1 win a World Series playing like 15 games with an asterisk behind it. This team's just not that good. And the Braves took them out with good inside pitching by left-handers to bust them where they couldn't extend the arms. And now what they're doing is they've taken that to Houston. And Houston had a good run with the White Sox and the Red Sox, but they just are no match. I know we're playing bullpen games in an analytic type of baseball days these days, but
well, you're going to get another one tonight too. You had a bullpen game.
Yeah, and
Braves last night and a bullpen game tonight.
But Atlanta is going to win it. I had Atlanta in 6. They might just end it in 5. But I feel bad for Dusty Baker trying to get him his first World Series. But I'll tell you one thing: Atlanta's just hitting on all cylinders. And let's just give the MVP to Super Mario there. Boy, I'll tell you, that kid they picked up, man, what a catch yesterday. Not the top 5, but boy, the hits he's been picking up.
Yeah.
You can give it to Mancini too. I mean, there's a lot of guys you can give this MVP to, but I think they're going to celebrate in Dixie.
I give it to the bullpen as a whole.
Yeah, Minter, Jackson.
Yeah.
You look at Mancini and stuff like that, and boy, Atlanta retooled right after they lost all their guys.
Yeah.
Acuna and all those, and they could have reeled it in and said, you know what, we'll see you next year. But they challenged the Phillies. I had the Phillies to win the division. They challenged the Mets, and they never let up. And I'll tell you one thing: when you look at Atlanta, they were dealt a dart going to the West Coast 2 times in the last 25 games to the West Coast.
I got to wait before I move on from baseball. I cannot just let you go with the asterisk comment about the Astros, because I will forever argue the fact that it's nonsense. Everybody's doing it. They got caught. End of story. I
totally agree. But in Los Angeles, John Wooden once said, "No excuses, make adjustments." Unfortunately, in L.A., I don't know what Kool-Aid Andrew Friedman's passing to the masses out here. They're all drinking it. That dude needs to go. I might be the only guy in Los Angeles that'll show him the 605, the 101, the 405. He needs to go. He didn't win anything in Tampa. Boston and New York were his way.
Yeah.
Tampa showed him the highway, and then Tampa went to the World Series, came up short. But this dude and this dog and pony show for 6 years running in L.A. needs to stop. They need to move the dude out.
Well, you talk about it, making adjustments, and back to the sign stealing thing. My Yankees did as much crying as the Dodgers, saying, "Oh, but we knew they were stealing our signs." Well, if you knew they were stealing your signs, then do something to stop it, right?
Well, not only that, we've heard it in L.A. with the Reggie Jackson sticking the hip out. Steve Howe, God rest his soul, he's like a cat. He had 9 lives out here with drug things. The Julio Urias thing, knocking around his girlfriend on the 3rd-story promenade in West L.A. I mean, come on, man. Let's call it where it is. And then to stand there and see the Dodgers stand there and stick by Bauer. And then finally they had to do something because the negative press was coming. So, I mean, the Dodgers, they're not, the good guys walking around with the hats on and the white horse in the background either.
Yeah, I think maybe Trevor Bauer and Deshaun Watson should become like cornhole players or something, because they aren't playing, they aren't going to play in their the respective leagues ever again. Either one of them. That's still my prediction.
Yeah, they're selling Super Bowl tickets in L.A. after today. The Rams have had a stretch where they beat the Giants, Lions, and now the Texans. So everybody's excited in L.A. for Super Bowl. It's in their backyard.
They will be back tied for the first place after today as well. So. Before we jump to the NFL, let's talk about college football yesterday. Obviously, to me, no surprise, Jim Harbaugh cannot win the big game again, despite leading most of that game. Ohio State takes care of Penn State. The Big Ten is starting to come into a little bit of focus here. It's going to be either Michigan State, who is in the driver's seat now, to go to that playoff. It's going to be very interesting what happens in the playoff if Ohio State doesn't even get in the conference championship game in the Big Ten, but still only has one loss. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens there.
Well, let me tell you something. They say things were in threes. Yesterday, things ran in fours for me. Michigan loses, Texas loses, Arizona State loses, Pitt loses. I can't figure this thing out. In Michigan, watching that game, total domination. They fell behind 14-13, and then they put the juggernaut on them, and then all of a sudden they take their foot off the gas. Come on, Jim. You gotta knock this team out. I know it's at Michigan State. I know everybody's getting excited. I know Magic's jumping around and everything, but come on, man. You gotta win this game. And to solidify it, and I know Michigan State was undefeated and all this, but boy, oh boy, you had a chance to move into the premier, that fatal four-way. You drop a notch, and now who knows? This team looks like they come out to the Rose Bowl, and I don't know who they're going to play out here because Arizona State dropped an egg too.
Well, the other side of that conference, too, is now Iowa has just imploded over there in the South. I thought they were a really, really good football team, solid in all facets of the game, and now they can't play any facets of the game. And out of nowhere, Minnesota is in the driver's seat to get to the conference championship game.
Yeah, go figure, and when you look at it, Notre Dame dodges a bullet. I know they're 13-0 against North Carolina at home, but it's going to get interesting here. And the real deal is if Cincinnati can sustain it now to stay in that number 2 position, because I think this thing can get a little crazy here. Michigan State can move up into this thing. And boy, the wild one in the Berg, Pitt and Miami. This is another one where Pitt had to win, I thought, and, you don't want to play around with a hurricane team, but coming in at 3-4, but, it was a shootout. They came up short 38-34, and that's frustrating in itself.
Yeah, I agree. This first, you and I will be talking about it Wednesday night if you're able to make the Football Huddle show, because we got the first playoff committee poll coming out Tuesday night. So it's going to be very interesting. I have already made a prediction here earlier before you came on that the first 4 teams will be Georgia, Oklahoma, Ohio State, and who else did I say? Alabama, and Cincinnati is going to be left at 5 because I don't think they want them in that top 4 and then have to move them out. They don't care about moving them up, but I don't think they wanted them to go undefeated and have to drop them out of the top 4. Because I don't think they want them in this playoff.
Yeah, they don't. It's funny. Instead of telling them to their face, they kind of do the backhand approach with Cincinnati. And you might be right. It's going to be interesting. But I'm hoping Michigan can beat Ohio State and get the albatross off of Harbaugh. But man, oh man, do not do like you did yesterday with Michigan State.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be very interesting. And I think the other interesting thing, and we talked about it earlier as well, is, and it's funny, Carlos is talking about how Cincinnati needs a better quarterback. I like that kid. I really do. I think he's got a lot of moxie, and they aren't winning games. They aren't getting any style points, which is a problem for Cincinnati. These other teams that are in playoff contention, all they got to do is win. Cincinnati needs.
Well, I know it's Halloween, and the other surprise was Kentucky. Did they dress up as a bottom feeder?
Oh gosh, this is again. I love Mike Stoops. I think he's a great coach, but this is typical Kentucky. Give you a little tease here early in the season, and then kind of lose 2-3 games they shouldn't lose down the stretch.
No, totally agree. And SMU. Another one, and boy, I'll tell you, I know you're high on UCLA out here, and Utah is just tough at home. It's amazing. Stanford gets beat. The Washington schools rose to the occasion with Washington State beating Arizona State, but USC struggles, but finally finds a way to, beat Arizona. So the Pac-12 is in disarray right now, if you ask me.
I continue to say that BYU is moving to the wrong conference. They should be going to the Pac-12. They'd be in position to be in the championship game. They're 4-0 in that league without being even a member of the league. So great job by BYU.
Yeah, exactly. Ty Detmer and Steve Sarkisian, and unbelievable. So the BYU program definitely is going to the wrong conference, if you ask me.
What do you think about the rumors? And I couldn't wait till we get to our NFL part, but I'm going to talk about it here since we're talking about college football. Recently, this week, and you're a Pittsburgh guy, a lot of rumors swirling about Mike Tomlin leaving Pittsburgh for one of these high-profile college schools, whether it's USC or LSU or whatever other school opens up. And he vehemently denied it this week. But there's a couple things I think. The last time I heard a guy, a pro coach, vehemently deny he was going to a college gig was Nick Saban, and we know what happened there. And I think for the people who think, oh, Mike Tomlin's not leaving the Steelers, if Mike Tomlin were going to leave the Steelers, this is the perfect time. He's done everything he can do there. He's been a great coach, a real consistent situation there. Won Super Bowls. His quarterback is done. He's playing on one foot, and not even one leg. He's playing on one foot, basically. And if Mike Tomlin were going to consider a move like this for a new challenge, this is the perfect time in his career to do it. What are your thoughts being a Pittsburgh guy?
First of all, I've been on the wagon to get rid of Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh 3 years ago, and case in point, Jacksonville came in there to the playoffs with Bortles and Fournette and ran right into the ground. I don't think they were prepared. Fast forward the next year, and then we get, Big Ben going down in the second game of the season. I believe it was against Seattle and Pittsburgh. And when you looked at that scenario, all they had to do was win one game in their last four. They couldn't do that. Then last year they started out 12-0 and throw another kitty in there. The Redskins came in there and beat them in their backyard. And then the whole thing was they went to Cleveland the last game of the year and they lost that. And then he said, well, we didn't really need to get this. We're playing Cleveland the following week in our backyard, and Cleveland tore them up. So I think they've tuned out Mike Tomlin. I could be the only guy from Pittsburgh that's saying get rid of Tomlin too. But I'm going to lay it out. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. And I'm going to put it there on a platform that I think you need a Bieniemy or a Frazier in Pittsburgh. They need a new voice.
Nope. Mark's gone. Rick, did you cut Rick off? Did you cut him off? Let me try and call him back. Maybe I did it. I actually moved my phone. It's entirely possible I cut him off. I'll call him back. I want to get an answer to my question, damn it. By the way, Kenny, you got to do more than copy and paste your previous comments. Iowa played like Iowa. We know what you think about the AAC.
I'm sorry. The person you were trying to reach has a voicemail box that has not been sent.
Oh, Rick, maybe I don't know. We can't get through to him. He might have been trying to call me. Well, we'll let him call back. Anyway, I think Tomlin might actually make that move. Try one more time. We're probably trying to call each other. Carlos probably agrees with Mark. The coach needs to go. Well, I think Mike Tomlin's been a really, really good coach.
I'm sorry. The person you were trying to...
I don't know. I think it's on Mark's end. I think we got a little problem. So Mark's had some communication problems lately. So we'll finish up here without him if we have to. I don't know how to copy and paste. Kenny, you got to stop down. I'm going to teach you all these little tricks of the trade. I'd love to. Carlos can speak up on this. If Carlos is still with us, I'd love you to speak up on this topic, by the way, because I think Mike Tomlin is a really good coach. I think that's a good question. Who replaces Tomlin? I think you heard Mark start to talk about it with some of the hot young assistants like Eric Bieniemy. I personally think Eric Bieniemy may be going to the college ranks myself. It's possible that he'll be considered for that USC job in my mind. But again, this Pittsburgh situation, what franchise has had the stability at head coach that the Pittsburgh Steelers have had over the last 50 years? They've had 3 coaches in 50 years. 3 coaches in over 50 years. There's no place else in the NFL you see anything close to that. Carlos, Tomlin won't go unless the Steelers fire him. So you think there's nothing to the rumors that he's interested in moving and getting a new challenge in the college ranks? I think there's something to it. He doesn't have a quarterback for the future. He doesn't have a quarterback for the present. And he's really done everything you can do on the NFL level. I don't know if that's... none has, but none's been in this situation. Well, maybe they have. Pete Carroll won a Super Bowl in the NFL, but he didn't go back to. Let's try Mark one more time. Now his phone probably died. I got to get this guy a personal assistant or something. Try him one more time. You're right, Carlos. No Super Bowl winning coach ever has. I'm not saying no way. The money's big in college today.
I'm sorry, the person you were trying to reach has...
And, by the way, the lifting isn't as heavy. One of the reasons college coaches fail, why Steve Spurrier failed, is because the NFL is harder to coach than college. He's got guys helping him recruit. He goes in and closes the deal. He gets to play lots of golf. He doesn't have to spend nights in his office and never go home the way Bill Belichick does, the way Dick Vermeil did. Much easier on a college level. And I wouldn't say that a guy like Tomlin would not consider this. And what also makes me wonder is how strongly he denied it. Again, I just got this deja vu with Nick Saban. I know he didn't win a Super Bowl, and he didn't do great with he did make the playoffs one year with the Dolphins. Let's not forget. I mean, Saban's big mistake in imagine how history would be different. And I think I talked about this on a show, one of my shows, not too that long ago. Imagine how different maybe the NFL history is and the college football history is if Saban doesn't make the wrong choice at quarterback, thinking Drew Brees could not throw the ball anymore after his torn labrum with the Chargers. He wanted to go to the Dolphins. They didn't want him. They took Dante Culpepper. Brees goes to New Orleans. History is different forever. Let's see what we got here. You cannot sell college to the NFL Super Bowl winning coach. I can sell lots of things. Money. You guys have talked about it all through this show and every show. Money. Money talks. LSU, USC can pay him as much as the Steelers will pay him. He'll have an easier gig and he'll have a chance at a new challenge. You can't say it would never happen, Carlos. You can't say it would never happen. The landscape is changing. Years ago, I would say you're exactly right. Guys would make more money and there was more prestige coaching in the NFL. That's not necessarily true anymore. Trying to think that there was, I thought there was a Super Bowl winning coach that might have gone backwards, but everyone I can think of actually, actually it was the other way around. They won they won a Super Bowl after they came back. He was disrespected. That's why he was so upset. Well, how was he disrespected? Tying his name to these huge college, great opportunities. How's that disrespecting somebody? Money and a lot more fun. Like in college, I agree. Right? That's why Brian Kelly hasn't left for the NFL. Think about this from the other direction. Why do guys stay in college instead of making that next jump? Some guys are successful. Chip Kelly had some success. Dick Vermeil had great success jumping to the pros. Pete Carroll, I know he was a pro coach first. I can think of a bunch of guys. There's a bunch of guys who fail too, but there's a bunch of assistants who fail as well. Everybody says college coaches can't coach in the NFL. Well, they can. The bigger reason they don't go is the money's still good and the job is easier. Not that it's an easy job, but you know what I'm getting at. No one mentioned Andy Reid or Sean Payton names who are white coaches. What has that got to do? I don't get it. Carlos, I mean, is that what Mike Tomlin said? I must have missed something. If that he felt disrespected, maybe I'm missing something in the translation here. Did Mike Tomlin say he felt disrespected because white coaches weren't being offered prestigious college coaches, but a black coach was? That's confusing to me. I guess I can take Mark's picture down since he's not here. That confuses me a little bit. He said, well, you know what? Then Mike Tomlin, gosh, I like Mike Tomlin a lot. I think Mike Tomlin is a great football coach. But if he said he's being disrespected because he's being offered some of the best college coaching opportunities in the country, but Andy Reid wasn't, well, then he's living in a fantasy world. Yeah, right. I'm not sure I get that. I'm going to go back and watch his press conference because oh my gosh. How are you disrespected? Oh my gosh. Mike Tomlin got one of the best coaching gigs in the NFL. And again, I'm not saying the NFL hasn't been inclusive enough either. I'm not saying that at all. But Mike Tomlin can't say he's being disrespected by being offered tremendous jobs. He's not being offered the job at Miami of Ohio. All right. Well, that's again, I'm going to, before I go too much farther into what he said or didn't say. Well, I agree. Kenny's absolutely right. I mean, that's my point. And again, so if Mike Tomlin brought it up in that context, Carlos, I don't get that at all. Hey, Carlos, please, you can't think he's being disrespected because he's being mentioned. Because how about John Gruden? To use a pariah, by the way, sorry. I'll use him before he was a pariah. He was mentioned for Notre Dame. He was mentioned for LSU when he was a head coach the first time. I don't get it. I mean, gosh, I mean, if they were not considering a very successful black coach at LSU because of that, well, then I think he might have an argument more than they're offering me this great job, but not. I don't get it. I'm missing something. All right, we got just a few minutes left. Here's what I'm going to do since Mark's not here. I'm going to give you, and you're lucky, Rick, because I got a bad feeling that Mark might have been on your Vikings today to bring up your comment about as long as he doesn't pick. Let's see what he say here. Correct. He did not say that, but it was insinuated. Yeah, I'll watch this. I'm going to watch this press conference again, and this might give me some fodder for my next vlog, because if in fact you're accurate, Carlos, to me, that is nonsense. That is just going to, and again, I respect Mike Tomlin a lot. And if he went this direction, you're fanning a fire that isn't even burning yet. You don't want to talk about what position at USC. Said, why are they not asking Sean Payton and Andy Reid? I mean, other than the fact that they're all longtime NFL coaches, I mean, to me, he could not be referring to the color of his skin. He could be talking about his job security. Okay, so again, I'm just saying, I'm trying to give Mike Tomlin the benefit of the doubt because this cannot be a race thing. It just can't be. And if it is, I would be shocked. But they're all three of them are long-term NFL coaches with Super Bowl wins, and they're not in trouble with their teams struggling more than normal, although the Saints are doing okay. But they're not being mentioned as far as leaving their jobs. Well, I don't think that's the case. Maybe, and again, I'm going to watch this thing. Well, those three are the three Super Bowl winning coaches, long-term winning Super Bowl coaches. I got to watch the whole thing, Carlos. We'll talk more about it in coming weeks, and maybe I'll do a vlog on it this week. I got to find out what's going on now. I didn't watch this whole press conference. I read a synopsis of it, and I missed that part of it or did not get it in the right context. So again, maybe it's a race thing, maybe it isn't. I don't know, but we're not gonna we can't solve it here today. So, and if it is, yeah, gosh, I just don't see how this is a disrespectful thing, regardless whether you're an NFL winning Super Bowl coach or not. It's not like you're saying, hey, Mike Tomlin would be great for the Delaware State job. We're talking about LSU and USC. I don't know. Oh. Anyway, here's my locks for the day. Let me get to something more fun. And Carlos, I'm not saying you're wrong here. I obviously need to get more information, and then we'll talk more on it because I will have an opinion, and I will give it to you. Here's my dead solid lock pick today. The Rams dismantle the Texans, and the Bengals dismantle the Jets. There's my two dead solid lock picks. Here's my don't be surprised if the Patriots go to L.A. and beat the Chargers on that neutral field they call a home field and get their first win over a quality opponent where they've been playing very well. Yeah, I agree, Carlos. We'll talk more about it. And my second, don't be surprised if the Cowboys get knocked down a notch and get beat by Rick's Minnesota Vikings. My picks haven't been that bad, Rick. I will be betting your Vikings today, I can tell you right now. And I've been doing very well with my 3 bets. And my bets today will be, I'll give them to you. They may change, but here's who I'm betting today. I am betting on, Jesus, is a tough week. I'm probably taking the Patriots plus the points. I'm taking the Vikings plus the points at home. I thought there was one other home team I liked. And I may take the Falcons today. So that could change a little bit. But in any event, guys, I got to get ready to get out of here. Been a great spirited debate. Carlos, great stuff. Bring it to the table today. I'm not dismissing your comments about the race thing. We're going to talk about it more as we go forward. Not afraid to talk about it. I guarantee you that. Great topic with the AAC today that you brought up to me last night. So thank you for that. Guys, catch us Wednesday. We'll be talking a lot more college football in the College Football Huddle. Maybe we'll get into this a little bit more then. Mark Roberts, Skol. And, hey, Golo will lead us next Friday. We'll talk more about the NFL. Maybe we'll get into this Mike Tomlin stuff with him a little bit. Carlos, let's talk a little more. You and I back and forth. I want to get your opinion means a lot to me. So I know I kid you a lot, but we will talk more. I see he's tired of Pittsburgh media, so maybe so, but more reason I think he may be ready to move on. Keith Engel, TGI Sports Talk, right here on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. I will see you later.